What's up, Duval? Man, this is another episode of Duval Against y'all. You know who it is. It's your boy, Zach. You can find me on Twitter at blind_side_73. For today's episode, we're going to be talking about some Jaguars who need to improve so that we can have a successful 2023 season and get to where we want to go. Make sure to like and subscribe, hit that notification bell that we don't miss any of our videos. And don't forget, of course, like I say, if you like our content, you can also check out the website, which is at toyshouse.com, and check out our sister network, which is the CFB Nation. Make sure it's the, because there are a couple, but you need to make sure ours, that's the CFB Nation on YouTube. Throw us a review on Apple Podcasts and iTunes. If you like this, of course, make sure to try to get into our Gilded chat. You can reach out to me on Twitter for that, or at Coach, then that's at Coach Sheps, and we can help you get into that chat. So today, let's just get into it. All right, so we all saw how last year ended, of course, with losing the divisional round against Kansas City Chiefs. Well, it was a close game, of course, but we could do better than that. So in order to get better, to go farther into the playoffs and maybe make the Super Bowl run, there are a few Jaguars that need to improve so that we could reach our full potential. So I've first, guys, I'm going to go through, explain who I think and what I think they should do in order to improve. So the first, of course, is going to be our number one overall pick last year. That was entering his second year, Trayvon Walker. Trayvon Walker, his run defense is already great. I feel like he's a great defensive end for that. He's good. You have the tackle against Derrick Henry that everyone went viral. That Derrick Henry tried to stiff arm him, didn't work on Walker. But his pass rushing moves are still lacking. Still mostly bull rushing. He did have a few moments, I guess, would be the word for, when he showed his potential. But we all knew drafting him over Hutchinson that Hutchinson was more pro ready, but Walker's ceiling was a lot higher. And I feel like we saw that last year. It was like, wow, Hutchinson came in on fire, given a lot of Agent Hutchinson's sacks weren't his creative sacks. It was more like some stunts and just clean up sacks, which sacks are sacks. But again, clean up sacks, if you're not really beating your man as much, it's more like your other teammates are making that play for you. It does affect it somewhat. So he had the more sacks than Walker did this year, with Walker only having 3.5 and Hutchinson having around 8. So, of course, that was a lot of people like, see, we should draft Hutchinson. But again, we didn't see the full deal. But Walker does need to know he needs to increase his potential, increase his pass rush moves. Hopefully the game's slowing down for him a little more, as we saw near the end of the year, when he felt like we could see him starting to dominate and show the potential player he actually could be. And with Josh Allen on the side, and Josh Allen was usually causing the double teams, it's going to leave more one-on-one opportunities for Walker. He was getting some double teams in certain games, just obviously when it comes to protection of the pass, protection of the O-line. But he does need to learn to get better at dealing with that and be a little smarter, like no more of the penalties and the offsides and everything. Hopefully, us as a defense puts him with his hand in the dirt more, because I felt like he was a much better pass rusher if his hand was in the dirt, as opposed to being an outside linebacker pass rushing. I think it helps him with his explosion better. His first step, was already elite, I feel like it's better when he's with his hand in the dirt. I feel like he's more comfortable than that. And then with news coming out of OTAs, it seems like they're doing it a little bit more. But again, I feel like he would do better as a full-time. But again, as with running a 3-4, our linebackers usually standing up. So with him and Josh Allen, more standing up, that's less opportunity. So that's how he needs to get better, is just being able to either deal with being like converting how he feels more comfortable with his hand in the dirt and morphing into as a stand-up outside linebacker blitzing. I feel like he should be, if he can get that together, I feel like he can have a more complete package. When the man of that size and speed, I feel like he can be an elite defensive end. I feel like he just needs to get better at that and have more moves and more counters and more comfortable in his position, and hopefully he can just show it. And then if he goes, frees up Josh Allen, the other side, and then that helps our pass rush immensely, which, like I've said in previous videos, our pass rush is probably our weakest link on the team, or one of our weakest links. Because if Josh Allen or Terry Walken gets hurt again, we're relying on rookies, most likely, or rookies or guys who have not played, like a Jordan Smith who's been hurt in his first 2 years. Next guy on my list, he didn't have a terrible year, but I feel like he needs to get a lot stronger at the point of attack, and that's Luke Fortner. As a starting center, hopefully him and Trevor kind of grow together, become like a Jeff Saturday, Peyton Manning type situation, like they're just with each other for years and years to come. But I do feel like, well, Fortner held his own against like the faster defensive tackles when he had to go against like the big guy noses like Jeffrey Simmons, for example. I feel like he struggled a little more. So I feel like his and I think it's just he couldn't hold him like strength wise. So I feel like his biggest thing this year is just getting stronger. If he gets stronger, I feel like he can be a decent, reliable and decent center for us. Trevor's release is quick enough that he doesn't need a lot of time, but all quarterbacks need some time, and they've all said that quarterbacks hate it, the pass rush in their face, because of course it affects like how they can see the field and everything. So if Fortner can get stronger, I feel like he can help a lot with Trevor. And then we get more time equals more guys for guys to get open, receivers, more open, more yards, more points, we win. So that's always important. So I feel like if he gets stronger, he'll be good. But one of his issues is also with the next guy I'm talking about, and that's Brandon Sheriff. Brandon Sheriff, of course, was an elite guard when he was playing for the Washington, at that time, Redskins. He wasn't as good this year as he has in years past. I feel like that was for a variety of reasons. I feel like it was his injury. He's getting older, and having Luke Fortner on the other side as a rookie, he a lot of times was like trying to help him, which is good. But again, it does affect your effectiveness by yourself. So with Sheriff, I mean, he's going to have a rookie again on the other side with Antone Harrison as our first round pick, who's going to start right tackle. So I feel like he may still struggle a little bit because now he's not helping. Now he's not helping his one side. He's going on the other one. But he did also give up 6 sacks, and that's not like Brandon Sheriff. He did play all 17 games, which he hadn't done in years. But he did have, near the end of the season, he was getting some nagging injuries, which I think affected his effectiveness. So hopefully this offseason he's using it to get better, get more healthy. Because I feel like he's a good guard, but it may not be. He doesn't have much longer in the league as a guard, as opposed to some of these other guys. So he's going to be on the downswing no matter what, just due to age relations. But I feel like there is probably 1, maybe 2 more years left of him being as elite as he can be. I'm not sure if it's a system issue, but I feel like he has the potential to be back to where he was, especially if he's not having Fortner as much. So we can just focus on his first one-on-one. Feel like he could be good as long as he doesn't get 6 sacks again, which as a guard, that's one of our higher sack numbers of the offensive line. So he needs to just get back to the potential he used to be. We're kind of needing him for this run. Again, like I said, he's older, so he may not have much long in him, so we probably need to start looking at a replacement for too long for him. But for now, I think his biggest thing is just get healthy and then just do what you do. Be the guard we in Jacksonville signed him for. Even with Antone, I mean, right tackles usually are going to be by ourselves a little more, so maybe it's not going to be as much of a helping as it was last year with Fortner, but hopefully he could potentially be like how he was supposed to be. But so my next comparison is Travis Etienne. Travis Etienne did have a great year. Early, of course, he had the fumbling issues, which as the season went on, I feel like he cleared it up. I think a lot of his fumbling issues is just he hadn't been hit in so long. And so it was just like getting back into the gist of everything. So that if he cleans up that, which it seemed more cleaned up, I feel like we'll be fine. But he still has the pass rushing or pass blocking issues. Because that's one of the reasons why, as the season went on, Jamal Casey was in the game more than Etienne felt like during the end of games. And that's because Hasty was a better pass blocker. We all know Doug Pearson likes to throw the ball, so I mean, if Etienne's going to have to try to get on the field, he's going to need to, or he'll be on the field, but he wants to be on the field more. He's going to need to be a better pass blocker because I mean that's one of the main traits of a running back. I mean, as much as he wasn't as good as the season went on, like Ezekiel Elliott, for example, he was still an elite pass protector, so that kept him on the field. Even though when it came to rushing the ball, he wasn't as good for the Dallas Cowboys. So Etienne needs to learn like that. So but Etienne still is a good rusher or runner, so he needs to encase his pass blocking, so it's always even funny more. Given with the signing of Darnus Johnson and Tank Bigsby and re-signing Jamal Hasty, he may not be on the field as much, but of course, more if he's a complete third down back, that's more opportunities for him. Basically, I feel like it would be more of like goal line short yardage situations, and then Hasty and Deion Johnson, I think, will compete for who will be the second back. So, I mean, Etienne's not going to lose his job, but it's just something he needs to work on a little bit. So he works on that. He becomes a better player. And he reaches his full Pro Bowl potential. Because, I mean, we saw near the end of the year, he's still fast. He still has the speed. It's just a matter of showing everybody. Now, of course, like, the drill, you need to make sure to check out our Patreon. We have several different levels of, like, payment options. So, it's like, ranging from $1.50 all the way up to $20. So if you're not sure how much you can do each time, you can just go on the lower one, and then if you get more disposable income, you can always go up, and then go back down if something comes up. So that's always good to make sure. So make sure to check that out. That's patreon.com/choice-of-titles. There's all the tiers have different stuff. Like, I mean, some of the tiers have one-on-one draft advice. Some other of them have for your fantasy draft. Other ones where you can give you advice on your league itself, just like, so you're going to want to try to get this player off the waiver wire or drop this one or anything like that. Of course, we have free merch, and then there's also a tier that you can get into the Frankenstein Fantasy League. This league's really cool. I mean, it's something that I haven't seen done before, but I really think this is a really cool idea. So make sure to check that out. And that's our $10 tier. If you do that, it's saving you $15. It's normally $25 to get into the league. That's a good deal. I mean, so I would make sure to check that out. Because like I said, I mean, everyone's deal. And then with the free merch opportunities, we're going to come up with more and more ideas with that. So, I mean, everyone likes free stuff. I mean, so make sure to check out, subscribe to that. And then we can start hook you all up to some cool merch. So the next guys on my list are two young linebackers, Devin Lloyd and Chad Muma. Devin Lloyd, of course, we all saw he exploded out the gate last year in his rookie year, and then he kind of hit the rookie wall. Then Chad Muma kind of took over for him, and Chad Muma was better, but he still wasn't great in coverage. Devin Lloyd had 115 tackles, while Chad Muma only had 47. So it's like, he doubled him. I was like, yeah, but a lot of Lloyd stuff was more early, and then also like giving up a reception and then he makes a tackle. So I mean, we'd rather the Mumas didn't get as much good Muma, of course. The quarterback wasn't throwing to Muma's guy. Both of these guys I feel like can be good linebackers. I mean, in the future, I feel like even with Luakan's contract, eventually most likely it's gonna be Muma and Lloyd. I feel like this is kind of like a pause Telvin Smith situation where like pause was probably better, but Smith made more plays. So we go to, but again, I feel like, but then we got to the point where Telvin was giving up receptions all the time, wasn't making as much plays. But I feel like they could be better than the duo was. But of course, they both need to get better at feeling more comfortable in the system, knowing what the NFL has. Both of them, I feel like their weaknesses were more in coverage. I feel like run defense, I feel like Lloyd was fine. His tackling did kind of hit and miss a little bit near the end of the season, but I do feel like him and Muma need to get better at, I guess would be the better word, at being coverage, both in zone and man. Lloyd's has the speed, so I feel like he feels like he can probably make up for it freelance a little more than Muma can. But again, freelancing doesn't always work. So you always try to want to be within the system, because if you're freelancing and then somebody else is, and then there's a gap, who knows what happens? Sorry about that. It can just be a whole issue. So you want to stay in the system. So, and then it's another year in the system. He's not learning again. He should learn. He should have already know it more like the back of his hand. So I feel like it can be better. If he gets better, if they both get better, I mean, I feel like that's it. It becomes the issue is like, how do we get them both on the field? I feel like that's a good issue to have. Because I mean, there's only going to be one linebacker spot open, because with running the 3-4, Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker takes 2 in the linebacker spots. Foye Oluokon's taking another one. That's 3 out of the 4, and then so it's Lloyd and Muma versus get one spot. Now, of course, there will be plays when they're both on the field, but for now, there's only going to be one for the starting position. So I feel like they're going to compete. And then, like I said, I feel like the best option for them is just to work on their coverage abilities. Get coverage better. That's less. Nothing. Someone that's not open for the offensive line. That gives a quarterback has to look again, which gives them more time for this Walker and Josh Allen to get sacks. And now the next person on my list is Trey. It's Herndo. He, like I've said in previous videos, he's probably going to start at the slot, barring something like Anton Johnson taking it from him. Even though they're all saying in Jacksonville right now, the coach is saying that he's a safety, not a nickel guy. But if he outplays, then we'll see that. So this is more for now to start the season, then we'll see how it goes. But I'm wondering, is the weakest link. Unfortunately, I don't like saying that. I don't feel like I'm not saying like he is a weak link, but he's the weakest link in our secondary. I feel like he's really good at tackling, but his coverage and with speed guys hurts a lot. That's why a lot of like the elite receivers end up going in the slot, because you're not dealing with Darius Williams or Tyson Campbell. It's like a mismatch issue. And since our system isn't built for or for our corners to travel, like in the past, with like Jalen Ramsey would travel and stuff, or like some of these elite corners doing it without the league, it's really going to hurt in the slot. So in order to fix that, Herndon has to step up and help with his coverage abilities. I know the coach staff really likes him. They think he's a hardworking guy. He's a great special teams guy. He's great. He's great at tackling and blitzing, but for coverage, it's still low lacking. Which coverage is always the most important in this situation. But in order to fix that, again, he does this, where he's just going to work his coach abilities. I mean, he is getting older, so we're almost at his part where he's probably reached his potential. That's why a lot of us will call him to go get like a Brian Branch in the draft. Of course, that's where we went to go in a different direction with Brenton Strange and Anton Harrison. But so I guess we're saying that the coaching staff trusts Herndo, but we'll see how the season goes on. I mean, like even last year, the coaching staff trusted Darius Williams in the slot. It wasn't working out when Shaquille Griffin went down. And then eventually, when they put Darius Williams outside where he should have been to start, the secondary took off. So I feel like it may just be a pride issue that he may end up getting trained, or may end up getting benched, and then someone else starting the spot, or we'll just something else. We'll just see how the season goes. With early in the season, our schedule isn't too bad with like elite receivers. So he may look good early, and then as we get in the meat of the schedule, other than like Kansas City, which Kansas City receiving core isn't that great, just Mahomes and Kelsey is so much better. He may end up getting benched, or may get better. We don't know, but I feel like he's one that really needs to improve for us to have a successful season. And the last guy on my list, he had a good season last year, but I feel like it's just the start of his potential. And that's Trevor Lawrence. I mean, we all know quarterback's the most important player on the team. Without Trevor, we're not going anywhere. I feel like his two biggest issues were his early red zone turnovers, which he cleaned up a lot there after like the halfway point in the season, which I feel like makes a huge difference. So if he keeps that up all year, it's fine. And then his fumbling, which a lot of his fumbles just like his size, not like he's a tall guy, but he's not like a thick, stocky guy, like a Russell Wilson or some of these other quarterbacks, or like a Cam or something. So he needs to work on his fumbling and his grip with football. Because, like, I mean, even like the Philly game in the rain, we beat him if Trevor doesn't get fumble every time. Which part of that also was our offensive line was awful that game. But if he doesn't fumble, was it 4 times in that game with the 4 turnovers? I feel like we can win that game. I feel like we could beat everybody. So I feel like he cleans up his turnovers in general, and more particular his fumbles. I feel like he's going to be successful. I mean, he's the future. He's the franchise. This year showed what he could be after the rookie year that didn't happen with Urban Meyer. He showing that, yeah, I deserve to be the number 1 overall pick this year. This is what I have. This is my capabilities. I know a lot of the national media is already hyping us up, which I like because we're finally getting the respect in Jacksonville that we needed. A lot of teams were like, oh, they moved to London and all this stuff. No, this is Duval County. We here to stay. So, and then Trevor's the key to all that. I mean, he's already good. He already has a Pro Bowl with under his belt now, given it. But I feel like he needs to show even more. Like he can go up to like almost an MVP runner next year. So if he does that, we're golden. The sunshine is here. So that's my list with everybody. I feel like if all these guys get better, I feel like the sky's the limit for us. Feel like we could hang with any team in the league. I mean, we hung with the Eagles, we hung with the Chiefs twice. It's the 2 teams that were in the Super Bowl last year. I feel like we could hang with everybody. So we improve. Who knows what we could do, man? We could probably bring a Super Bowl Jacksonville. But all right, so I'm your host, Zach. Make sure to check out the rest of the videos on this channel. And let's hit it with a Duval.
What's up, Title Tribe? We appreciate you watching the show. If you want to catch up on all of our college football content, make sure you subscribe to the CFB Nation by clicking their link below. Make sure you subscribe to the Toilets Titles Podcast Network by clicking our link below. And make sure to catch our other content by watching these videos to the